let's take a little time and review how to put together a bibliography and also how to format an in-text citation. I know this is review for you guys, so we should be able to do it pretty quick. I think maybe I've got at least one resource that maybe you haven't seen before. When I taught college at Northern Arizona, I taught college freshman comp. We used the Purdue OWL, and a lot of my students that come back or send me emails or whatever after they go off to college tell me that they continue to use the Purdue OWL. It's kind of the gold standard of online style guides. So let's take a look at it and see what it's all about. The OWL, OWL, stands for Online Writing Lab. It is from Purdue University. It's just really well organized. It's easy to find information, and it's pretty quick. It's also very up to date. So what I Googled here, and I'll include a link to this, but what I Googled was Purdue OWL MLA, which is Modern Language Association, and that's the style that I'm going to show you today. There's also APA, there's Chicago style. There's a lot of different ones, but MLA is probably the most taught. If you're going to be in the sciences or something, you might want to learn APA, and that's fine. You can use whatever you want and just do it correctly. That's all I care about. All right, first of all, I'm going to show you, just to refresh your memory, what a bibliography page looks like. Here they call it a works cited. And I'm going to go to the MLA. There's a lot of links over here. For everything you need is linked right here. It's easy to find. The sample works cited page. And they have a sample works cited page, aka bibliography. And let's just take a look at this first entry here. And we kind of extrapolate it out to think about the rest. It's your typical entry that you guys will be doing. I doubt you'll be using a lot of books for your projects in high school, probably not even in early college. And you'll probably be using mostly magazine and newspaper articles that you find online. So here's a typical example of what that looks like. All right, so first thing is all entries are left justified on the first line, and then they're reverse indented, meaning you go to the second line, you hit enter, you hit tab, you go to the third line. If there's a third line, you hit enter, you hit tab. But you want the first line to be left justified and the second, third lines to be of each entry to be indented. The reason for that is then your professor can quickly scan the authors or the titles and see the entry really quickly. You can just kind of see by scanning the margin. And the second thing you'll note is that everything is alphabetized. Okay, so it's either alphabetized by the author's last name, in this case Dean, the second one is Ebert, the third one's Gowdy. You can see how that's alphabetized. This one doesn't have an author, so you just skip that and you start with a title, but it's also, the first letter is I, so it fits right in after H before L. Okay, so you can see it's alphabetized. So left justified, first line, alphabetized. Each entry here, we have the author, last name, comma, first name. So it's Cornelia Dean wrote this. We have the title of the article, Executive on a Mission, Saving the Planet. We have the title of the publication, the New York Times. We have the date published. We have the URL, and then we have the date accessed, which is important because a lot of times, especially on the web, things are updated, and you want to be able to show the date that you accessed it in case it changed after you accessed it. I mean, if the information is different when someone goes to check your sources, then at least you have the access date there to show, that there were changes made after you read it. Okay, so it used to be we had to kind of just pull this page up and mimic it, and you're welcome to do that. You can see, a few things here. The article title is in quotes. The title of the publication is italicized. Yeah, so you can just mimic this style if you want to, or you can go to a citation generator. I'm going to show you one right now called Citation Machine. So Citation Machine will make these citations for you, The trade-off is they're going to beam a ton of advertisements at you, and it's going to be really kind of clunky and slow because of it. But so I'm going to create a citation. You can see this is kind of slow. I'm going to use a website. And it's getting its advertising together for me. All right, so then you're going to put the URL in here. All right, so this is kind of always clumsy on a Chromebook, but you can highlight the URL. There we go. And then you can copy it. And then you can paste it. And you can search. While it's searching, I'll show you a few things here. I know that we have a title. I know that we have an author. I know we have a publication. I know we have a date published. And we have a URL. So everything that we need is present. You won't always have an author. A lot of times things are, written by staff at a newspaper or something like that, and it's not going to have an author, but this one does. I think it's so slow because they just want you to view more ads. There we go. All right, so it found the result. Now it's asking me to cite it. I click cite. And then you have to wait for some more advertising. Okay, I have the title, the URL, the website, the date accessed, the date published. We'll see if it finds the author or not. If it doesn't find the author, I'm going to have to go back and put that in at the end. And it just gives you the same information again, basically asking you to double check it, just kind of making sure that you got everything right. It's gathering the information. Okay, so it's asking one more time. Author, it is finding the author. It is finding the title. It is finding the URL. Yeah, all that stuff is good. Complete the citation. All right, anyway, that's all you have to do. I'm not going to make you watch another ad. It's going to make me watch an ad if I'm going to show this to you. But it'll bring the citation right up. It'll also ask what format I want it in. This is MLA format. Usually, I think it defaults to APA, which is a little more sophisticated. I think it's a little harder to learn. But you can just click the down arrow, select MLA, and then you'll have the MLA style. Then you just copy and paste it into your bibliography page in alphabetical order. It's really easy to do. Make sure that you have it all formatted correctly and you're good to go. Okay, so then an in-text citation is, we're going to look at all this stuff down the road, but we don't need to do it right now. Let's look for an in-text citation. In-text citations, the basics. All right, there's two ways to do this, basically. Two different formats. One is called a signal phrase, and one is called a parenthetical citation. So a signal phrase, I think they have the bib entry below. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So this is a very simple bibliography entry, but in your works cited page, probably toward the end, since it begins with the last name, Wordsworth, you would have this entry. Wordsworth, William, title, lyrical ballads, then you have the publisher and the date of publication. If you wanted to cite that in a paper or in a presentation, you could either do a signal phrase or you could do a parenthetical. In a signal phrase, it'll say, Wordsworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by, quote, the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. This is a page number. You probably won't have a page number. You just leave that out. Okay, so that's a nice way to do it. It flows. Notice it doesn't say Wordsworth says. It says Wordsworth stated. You could say, there are lots of different verbs you could use there, but that's kind of comes down to style. The other way to do it, and this is like on a slideshow, you'll probably do this more often. You just put the author's last name in parentheses at the end. Okay. Again, you won't have a page number, so you just do the author's last name in parentheses at the end, period after that. So after the quote, the parenthetical citation, then the period. I forget the page number. And the idea is that you always use in your in-text citation the beginning of your bibliography entry. We don't have any issues here since we have an author. We just use the author's last name. If you don't have an author, if you don't have an author, your bibliography entry is going to look like this. Okay, we don't have an author's last name, so we just have the impact of global warming in North America. That we know that's a title of an article because it's in quotation marks. Then we have the publisher, the container, as they call it, and the date it was published, the date it was accessed, and in between we have the URL. Since we don't have an author's last name, we just use the title, right? It's the first entry in our bibliography. It's the first piece of information in our bibliography. So when we're scanning the margin, that's what we're going to find. We know that this references this bibliography entry, and it's super easy. You could also use a signal phrase there and say something like, the article impact of global warming asserts that, and then have your quote. And that would be fine too, because we would know that I could find the article, the impact of global warming, in the bibliography itself. Okay, so that's it. It's pretty easy. Just kind of keep an eye when you're on the OWL at these this left column, and all of your information you need is all going to be here. We're not using footnotes or anything like that, but you're probably going to want to look at, electronic sources. This is actually a really useful page, MLA Works Cited Electronic Sources. And what it says is that you should get as much of this information as you can for your bibliography entry. If you can't find it, you skip it. Okay, so then your entry looks like this. You put as much as you can in there. If you can't find it, you skip it. Here is an entry for their entire site. Here's an entry for what looks to be an online book. Okay, so there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can cite all kinds of things. You could cite an image, you can cite an article. Scholarly journals are something you'll do a lot in college. Databases in college. You can cite an email. If you did an email interview, you can do a discussion board. You can cite a tweet. You can do that. You can cite a YouTube video. You can even cite the comments section. I don't recommend reading the comments section anymore, but if you needed to, there's your format. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me an email, or I'll be asking you guys about it next time I talk to you. Okay? Take care.